everyone. You're at the Jerry McCrory. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. You're at the New Holland U-20 Canadian Curling Championships at the Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex here in Sudbury, Ontario. My name's Sean Turriff. I'm joined by Lee Toner. Lee, we've got a big tilt today between Northern Ontario 1 and Saskatchewan 2 men.
Yeah, so this is draw 13, men's Pool A matchup between Northern Ontario, currently sitting at 2-4, and Saskatchewan sitting at 1-4. So both teams have been on the wrong end of a few close games, I would say, but anticipate a close matchup between these two teams this afternoon.
Northern Ontario, by virtue of the last stone draw, has the benefit of the hammer in the first end. A couple of good draws by them.
Good draws by Northern Ontario, and Saskatchewan came up a little short with their second one. You're going to notice, if you've been watching this week, that we've got a little bit more curl today. The ice makers and the ice crew textured the rock some, so they're now getting a little bit more curl. Speed seems to be still pretty good, though, but the line calling and the sweeping and the releases will have to be a little bit more crisp today.
We noticed in our morning game the women struggled a little bit with line, a little bit more than we'd been seeing. Any kind of soft release was really kind of getting away from them, and there was really no recovery that the sweepers could manufacture.
Yeah, you're seeing this more and more mid-event texturing of the rocks. I mean, this is, like I said, 13th draw with this with these rocks going back and forth, up and down for 8 ends in practices. So it does polish them a little bit, so teams are getting used to that adjustment, and whoever adjusts more quickly will start off the quickest.
Just to see that moment.
Hold tight, all there. 3 till 4.
A little bit.
4 losses probably puts both these teams out of contention, even though it's I don't know, Wednesday or Tuesday. It's Wednesday. It's that kind of week. But of course, you know, when you've got your provincial flag on your back, you're playing for pride every game, and so I expect both these teams will go out shooting hard and trying to bring back a win.
Yeah, I expect the same intensity that they would have had whether they were 1-4 or 4-1, because these games mean so much to these players at this level, playing on arena ice with your colors from your province on your back.
10. Wind's good. Yep.
So we've started with a draw to the 4-foot by Saskatchewan. Number 2 lead, Joshua Kirilenko. And Aiden Baxter has made the successful hit and roll to the wing. A little bit of a conservative start to the game, but we'll see when they decide to switch it on. I think everybody's kind of getting used to the new rocks and maybe just wants to get comfortable out on the ice here. So Kirilenko being asked to remove a rock on the outside of the 12-foot. You'll see they've taken about a foot of ice, and it's being swept to hold the line.
Yeah, it was going right out of his hand, but the sweeper's doing a good job of hanging on to it. Ending up with a nose hit there. That was moving as soon as he let go of it, but again, good sweep.
Yeah, and I noticed they flipped their sweepers, so they probably know that one sweeper is stronger on the keeping it straight side and one is stronger on the curl side, so they've adjusted their sweeping accordingly and flip-flop their front end members. So probably with some testing they figured out who's more effective at what and what's been most successful to them. Aiden also makes a successful hit and stick. He rolls into the 8-foot now, so we now will get our first look at Saskatchewan second, Lewis McDermott, who's an 18-year-old. He's a framer, works for Home Sweet Home Builders. They're on it right out of his hand again, Sean. This is curling.
And this one's curling away from the wall. The other one was curling towards the wall, so a bit of a good sign, I think, that you're getting movement both ways.
And this was a spot that we thought was a little bit straighter when we did our previous game here, so we'll see if that carries on through this draw with these rocks. Grayson Gribbon on this Northern Ontario 1 team. Grade 12 student out of Chippewa Secondary School in North Bay. And he makes a successful hit and just rolls into the 12-foot. So wide open end so far. Another hit making its way down the sheet.
Set it back up. I heard you say curl, but I didn't.
And they're just kind of watching it
I didn't hear him say it, so I was just waiting for him.
as it hits very close to nose, rolls in towards the 4-foot.
You see a lot less of this kind of start in 8-end games. I think, Lee, you having just come back from the Briar, of course, by the way, congratulations. You probably see this more often in the 10-end games where there's a kind of an up and down end early just to get the feel and maybe get a quick end in to help preserve the clock a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you used to see this more and more, but certainly now the 8 ends is feels a little bit short to be wasting a couple ends, especially if you have hammer. You don't want to give up an end where you have hammer and just blank it. So I think the biggest factor here is that everybody needs to get comfortable with the rocks and the extra curl that they're seeing today. And I think once everybody's comfortable, then we'll see that usual aggressive play from both the teams.
Little down. Curl. Little down. Curl. Down. Curl.
So Nathan Weiss, 20-year-old, third for Team Saskatchewan. Also hits close to nose and keeps his rock in play. Wes DeCarey will be asked to hit and stick as well for Team Northern Ontario. Wes is 17. He's a grade 12 student as well at a West Ferris Secondary School, also in North Bay. Dad Steve is the coach.
Little flop. Really good.
Yeah, so perfect end so far, I would say. Everybody's done what they've been asked. Some with more sweeping, some with less. Saskatchewan going with the inside-out turn. Northern Ontario likes the outside-in approach. Quite a bit more ice on this turn, I would say.
Mine went quite a bit, but I was able to hold it pretty well. 10!
So 10 is fairly normal weight, I would say. Again, trying to make sure that they throw enough weight so it doesn't over-curl. And Northern Ontario sticking to its outside-in approach. Out turn for Wes DeCarey here.
Taking quite a bit less ice than the inside out. You noted that earlier, but that's a good almost foot less ice.
Yeah, and they're on it to curl already, so this is that spot that we've seen a few rocks go a little bit straighter over the week.
Yeah, he just slid back. Yeah, 9.5 too.
Yeah, so they're saying he slid max and he had 9.5 weight, so he was a little bit heavy and maybe a touch wide on his release. So now Saskatchewan will get a chance to throw down the middle and get a feel for draw weight here. So this is Ethan Robinson, the skip. He's a finance student at University of Saskatchewan. Not a whole lot been thrown down the middle during practice or during the first end so far, so Ethan did get a chance to throw the draw during the last stone draw pre-game practice. See how he manages this new path.
Close! Real close. Weight's good.
There, almost there.
It's one of those ones where it's sometimes a little tricky putting the broom down because you don't take enough ice, you'll run out of circles as you get down the other end. They're working it.
Should be well into the 12-foot here, but well in is maybe
yeah,
an exaggeration.
it's a bite.
We're going to see the amount of curl on this side of the sheet now.
Yeah, so Riley's going to throw the outside in kind of throw as they've been doing all along. This is probably what this team has practiced and is comfortable with. Riley came right down, and knowing it was going to be a simple shot, didn't want to take any more time off his clock, so he is ready to throw.
Good. Air up. 9-5.
Hurry up. Hard.
Riley, also a grade 12 student at Chippewa High School in North Bay.
Hard.
North Bay team all in grade 12 in North Bay, going to 2 different high schools.
I think we saw a little more curl on that side, Lee. That one, he might have got it started a little bit, but that one came right across the rock.
I thought he was a little softer than the other throws, both in weight and the way he released it. And like you said, this was the first rock that came down, and you got to be wary of those first rocks. You want to make sure that you give it that little bit extra sometimes the first way down. So Ethan Robinson will have the same shot here, just to sit one, or maybe not. Front end is weighed in, and they like top 4. Team Northern Ontario probably looking at a blank here, so Saskatchewan's going to try to put it in a spot that's going to require a little bit more of a rollout on the blank, and that's why they're going to the middle.
Little more, not much.
You can go, boys.
He should reach you on.
Real close. Well, if anything, curl.
You got his split. I just timed it.
There.
5-5.
Whoa. Just you, Josh.
Looks like he's pretty good. Oh.
It's pretty good.
Back 8 does the job for purposes of this end. Not trying to steal here.
I initially thought that rock was a ways out there and wasn't going to come back, but it did finish up to the center line. Good sign.
Yeah, we're going to see some curl out here today. I think that'll make for some nice shot making too. All right, and Team Northern Ontario successful at making the blank. So after one end, it's 0-0. Saskatchewan, Northern Ontario with the hammer playing the second.
Welcome back, folks. We're at the Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex in Sudbury, Ontario. The new Holland U-20 Curling Championships Draw 13 action. Men's draw action with Northern Ontario 1 playing Saskatchewan 2. We had a blank end there in the first, a relatively straightforward up and down kind of end. Well, I'm Sean Turf. I'm joined by Lee Toner. We're here providing you all the insight you're going to need to understand how these up and down ends work. Not a lot of work for us that at first end, Lee.
Yeah, so I suspect we're going to see a center guard from Saskatchewan here. Get a few more rocks in play now that people are more comfortable with the current surface.
Top 4, curl. We're not there. Make it a guard. Curl. Hard curl, Nate. Curl.
As predicted, there you go. They're working that, I think, more for line than they are for weight.
Yeah, if they can get a bite to the center line, that's a great spot for that rock, and it's still a great spot. It's a nice tight guard. So
Same as LSD, or hair more than LSD.
it's not biting the center line, which means that if Northern Ontario was to touch it, as long as they didn't remove it from play, it could be moved. Northern Ontario going with the out turn, come around here. Aiden Baxter.
You have room. Always Grayson. T. Top 4. T. Grayson. T at least. You can knife. Back 4. Back T. You can knife. Back 4. Back T. T. Top 4. Hard knife. Weight's good. 15-8. Top 4. Top 4. Go. Hard. Hard! Hard! More, hard, more.
You heard them say 15-8.
15-8, yeah, so that's
Pretty quick, top four, boy.
good spot for that rock.
This is just top four. Okay.
So Joshua Kirilenko will be asked to freeze on top of that one. Joshua is a rink worker at the Meadow Lake Curling Club. Probably knows a thing or two about some of the things that are going on out here with the rocks and with the ice.
Where's the weight?
This is definitely a tighter line than Aiden's.
I feel like he might have a little more weight here, though.
Yeah, he might be moving it.
If it catches the curl.
At 14-5. And it ticks it further behind the guard and goes to the back of the button. Probably just a little bit heavy.
Northern Ontario looking at indicating they would like to flop under. I think the flop away wouldn't be
Yeah,
so bad
I was thinking away would probably be where I'm going.
Weight's good.
You ever set it up back button there, then you've given them a little pocket to freeze to, maybe get it a jail-free rock.
Yeah, it might not be an issue with this rock. Unfortunately, it's curling on Grayson here. Or sorry, that's Aiden.
That's unfortunate. It's fine.
All right, so I guess he removed the center guard on the positive side. Not from play, but from the center area. To your point, Sean, I think if you're Northern Ontario, you'd like to keep the play away from the middle and maybe get one to the side, and that could be your second point if once you neutralize the situation in the middle. And they had a pretty good setup there with that rock top four.
Still a little learning going on maybe with the touched rocks. This one over curling a little bit as well. Everything gone now though, so maybe not as big an issue there, but
Northern Ontario gonna play it conservative at this point and remove that biter from play, keeping the blank in play.
Yep.
Hard!
Yep.
Hard! Gotta go! Hard! No roll.
This is Grayson making the hit and jam in the corner, but doesn't really do anything. Moves his shooter to the 4-foot, and Saskatchewan will play the hit.
all of a sudden our very promising end with guards turns into another up and down a little bit. I think there's probably still a little bit of learning going on with that amount of curl.
Yep.
Nobody wanting to get caught too badly with that, so nobody taking huge chances.
Yeah, and I can speak to Team Winters, and they're not afraid to play aggressive. They played in the Northern Ontario men's playdowns this year and scared quite a few teams, including ourselves, in the process. And they were not afraid to play aggressive in that setting. Provincial was played in their home club, Northbury Granite Club, so they're obviously very comfortable there. Similar speed to this, actually. Very quick surface.
Ready, go.
Yep.
You see how lively these rocks are. I hit a good 2/3 of that rock, and with the hit weight that they're throwing right now, it's hard to stick around. I think we saw some of the other teams, once they got comfortable throwing that 11-5-12 weight, where it was easier to keep the shooter around. But again, when you get this extra curl, you're hesitant to. You can miss the rock by a foot if you don't quite have the right ice. So that's never a good feeling.
I think at my home club I would have to hit about 1/8 of that rock to get that kind of roll.
Down a bit.
Here you hit just off nose and you get 4 feet of roll.
Yeah, the laws of physics don't apply.
No.
Saskatchewan electing to draw, and that one's creeping into the back of the house. Let's see if Team Winters decides to switch gears a little bit, or if they continue with keeping the blank alive approach.
Yeah, I suppose they could switch to offense a little bit, maybe throw up a corner guard. This is pretty deep in the house.
Yeah, you'd be you wouldn't be too concerned about a steal in this situation. So yeah, maybe give it a go. But
Yeah, it's a matter of personal preference, though, right?
yeah, I think if it was the 7th end, then they would probably do something a little bit different. But yeah, this nice throw by Wesley there. 10-5 was the weight. He stuck around. Coach Steve is not paying attention to the game at all right now, trying to convince us that it's a very interesting game, but I think he's asleep.
Heckling the commentators, what he's doing.
Hard, buddy. Hard for a roll. Hard for a roll. Hard for a roll. Hard for a roll. Hard for a roll.
And another successful nose hit. So this Northern Ontario team has been together for a while. They've had the benefit of kind of growing up together as a team. Played U18 events, and they played, this is their second U20 event.
Something I should know, Lee, but do you know were they at U18s this year?
They were at U18s in Timmins, and they lost in a close game in the quarterfinal, I believe.
There you go.
And if I'm not mistaken, against one of the teams that was in the final. So
Each of them all just 17, so they've got a few years left in this.
yeah, and they're kind of in that sweet spot of development of a team when they're all at home, grade 12, all in the same club. You can really work with them, and they don't have as many distractions. So I know that now they're looking to go to university and college and other things in the future. So that's where there's a transition point for some of these teams. Now, Sean, you may know something about the new classification of the U17 event next year. Is that right? Are they going to U17?
Well, I don't think they're calling it U17. I think what Curling Canada is doing is adjusting the age eligibility for U18 to match the school year.
Oh, I love that. Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll come into play for next year. Some athletes will get caught because they'll get one less U18 year, but that's always going to happen no matter when you make that transition.
Yeah.
So Curling Canada, in association with their member associations, decided to bite the bullet and get it done sooner rather than later, because they feel that, to your point about teams that are together in their local home club, the four of them, that's happening more at the U18 level, but some U18 teams are breaking up because one or two are going off to university. And anyway, this is meant to help mitigate that a little bit and keep those teams together a little longer, maybe get them together a little earlier.
Yeah, and I like age groups, competing against similar age groups, and so keeping the high school group together, I think, works really nicely. And some of them get good enough so that they can compete at the U20, but you don't see high school basketball players playing against university basketball players, and I think there's some development to be had in an environment where they can play against their own age group.
Yep, for sure.
So Riley's taking advantage of these rocks on the side here, trying to make hit and roll in front of there to make it difficult to remove. Gets a little roll, but not quite enough. And now Ethan Robinson is going to do the same. He'll try to remove the red rock first and then roll his shooter to a position that might make it a little challenging to blank for Riley when he gets to throw his next one.
The good news is with these first two ends, it should mean neither team's going to have any issues with the time clock.
Yeah, we might get out of here before anybody else today, Sean, at this pace.
Both teams get 32 minutes of thinking time because of the interaction rules, as opposed to the 30 minutes, which is normal. But I think they've only used about 3 minutes. I think if I can see it properly, the Northern Ontario team is at 28:49, so they're used not quite 3 minutes, or 3 minutes and a small change for pretty much two ends, which is fantastic.
Saskatchewan similar, 28-38 if my vision is trustable. All right, so Riley gets to play this wide open shot. Ethan's rock removed the rock that was shot, but did not roll in front of the red rocks where he had hoped to make this shot a little bit more complicated. Still got to focus on these.
Oh, it's easy to lose focus on these, isn't it? I mean, some of this stuff, we say routine, but at the same time, as soon as you start thinking it's routine, that's when it might get complicated. We're such a mental game, right?
Yeah, and you know, you hate to give up a cheap steal, and this is curling. Well, nose hit wasn't quite what he wanted, but I'd take that over a steal early in the game.
You bet.
So 1-0 Northern Ontario after 2 ends. We'll be back for the third end here at the Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex in Sudbury, Ontario.
Look at that shot. There goes one moving here. Hit them both, too. Ah, great shot. That's a great shot. Oh, he's going to pick it right out of there. He's got it. Is what you need to become
Welcome back, folks. We're in Sudbury at the Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex at the U-20 New Holland Canadian Curling Championships. Sean Turf here with Lee Toner, and we're witnessing the tilt between Northern Ontario and Saskatchewan. Been a relatively straightforward affair so far. Teams playing up and down a little bit. We did see maybe a slight mistake there, Lee, at the end of that end.
Yeah, so they were kind of set up to blank and unfortunately nosed. So not the worst scenario, but again, they kind of were hoping to keep the hammer and play for a deuce here in 3. You hate to give up a steal of 1 in that situation, so that's probably the worst outcome. But they got their 1, and you know, if you stole 1 and lost the toss, you'd take it. So I kind of reframe my mindset that way. And now you're up 1 without the hammer, so Saskatchewan now gets to come around a guard that Northern Ontario just put up.
Really tight. Gotta go. Really tight. Turn this quite a bit. Yep.
Brushing this out of his hand, yelling it was a bit tight.
Have a look. Line's not bad. Line's not bad. Have a look.
Northern Ontario guard is pretty long. It's going to be tough to bury anything behind this and not have access with one turn or the other. So nice draw. Unfortunately, it peeks out the other side. I think if he was trying to bury this, he'd have to be biting the top 12. But on the tee line, it's wide open for Aiden Baxter and his takeout attempt with the out turn.
Given the ice and the question about rocks, do you think they throw a little more weight here, or do you think they just try and throw that normal kind of quiet?
Yeah, so they called 10-5. I got 11 on the watch. I think they're getting more comfortable with throwing less weight. It's one thing to call it, but as a thrower, you want to also have confidence in not going to overcurl, so you don't want to give it that extra. This one basically knows, maybe got a little bit of inside roll, so he can see 3/4 of this from the hack. Gonna throw hack weight at it with, I would suggest, minimal ice.
10-5. Yeah. Yep. Big Ken. Whoa. 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 Whoa.
Well out there.
Girl.
Yeah, and texture notwithstanding.
Down. Look straight.
This is a little bit straight on the side. They managed that well. I think the weight really saved them on that one.
Yeah, at 12 seconds, so I think the weight and the ability for those sweepers to get that to curl, to carve it in there. They went from curl to straight pretty abruptly, so indicates that the brushes are effective.
Northern Ontario probably trying to get under the center guard now with a little flop.
Gonna get something inside here. Very nice.
Yeah, very nice roll. Almost directly on it. They might have squeaked out a little bit on the other side, so I think Saskatchewan might chase.
Yeah, they can definitely see enough, and with the ability of the brushers here, and you see them switching again, trying to figure out who's going to be most effective on which side. This is Lewis McDermott, the Saskatchewan second.
Lewis coming at this from the lefty's point of view.
Hard for a roll.
I don't think he quite got all the way out there.
And now we've got a situation where a free guard zone rock may be removed. Riley's not even going to bother to sweep it. He already knew it was gone. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
To count the rocks. He could remove that rock, so center guard is gone for now. I think Northern Ontario like this a little deeper, Sean.
If you can.
Yeah, I think so. I've talked a couple of times on the broadcast about the positioning of guards. I think we did yesterday when we were on together, Lee. The guards are much trickier on the good surface. It's not just a north-south or depth issue in covering, but it's also an east-west issue. If he's too high, it's chaseable. If he's too deep, it's runnable. If there's a real sweet spot there. This one, unfortunately, just over-curled by a ton and really hasn't protected much of anything.
I think this is the type of ice where your guards, you can toss them wide all day and sweep them to the right position, but it's hard to hold them if you're tight.
Yeah.
Now, that's not necessarily the case in curling clubs, so that's something that people learn as they play on this type of surface.
Roll it away then.
Lewis with a successful chase here. Rolls into the open.
Northern Ontario can flop back under the guard here. It's quite a bit longer than it was just a second ago, but it's doable.
Yeah.
High enough too that I think if they make the roll, they're not behind the tee line. Getting some curl now. Not quite enough.
Yeah, and this is where they're going to want to maybe manage the weight a little bit to get the brushes to get the rock to move that little bit extra to get that roll. I already get the feeling it's straightening out a little bit. Nathan Weiss, University of Regina student. Now, Sean, you were recently in Regina, I believe, at the college championships.
I was with Humber College.
National championship. Congratulations to you on that and your team.
Thank you. Shameless self-promotion. It was a good week in Humber for our men.
Yeah, very solid lineup with the omnipresent Jake Horgan. We've been to every curling event I've been to.
We were exceptionally fortunate to have Jacob Horgan as part of our program. He's a massive influence on the other players. I mean, literally our fifth is a new curler, and to have somebody who's had the experience of Jake just influence that player is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's great for a program too to have somebody, a quality individual like Jake, who's just an all-around nice guy to begin with and a pretty darn good curler.
Yeah, he's in our program for this event, having played in this event 7 times.
Yeah, and probably at half his current height a couple of times.
Yeah,
as a 13-year-old.
Yeah. I told the story so I do an icebreaker for all the athletes. I told the story at the icebreaker. I'm trying to reinforce with them that it's more than just games, it's an experience, and these are your people, this is your cohort. And I told the story of it in 2016 at this event. Matt Dunstone won the event. Matt Dunstone, the Brier winner, current Team Canada. And in that final in Stratford, he was playing Tanner Horgan. Of course, Tanner was playing with his brother Jake. Fast forward to this year, and who's on the bench for Matt Dunstone at the Brier, but Jacob Horgan. So the connections you make at this event carry on as long as you want them to.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's part of the experience, part of why people want to get here, and they work so hard to get here, make some sacrifices along the way. So back to our game here. Riley Winters playing a nice hit and roll behind his center guard off of a Saskatchewan rock that was out in the open after a couple of chases.
That's a really good roll. Like you're in a little better position to see it, but I can't see a whole heck of a lot of that shot rock.
Yeah, and it's on that side where if you're a righty, it's really almost over buried, and it's in that situation where you hate to set it out a little bit. You know it's a straight side. Really good roll.
And talking about the depth of the guard, that's your sweet spot right there. It's not quite chaseable insofar as you can't really get to the nose there. If that guard's maybe 2 feet lighter or 2 feet shorter, like closer to the hog line, you might be able to chase and get a good chunk of that and you stick around. But the best I think Saskatchewan can do here is kind of chip it and roll away.
And the danger is they chip one in and open it up, but put another rock in the circles. That's not their color.
Right.
And like you said, a little bit closer to the house, they'd probably run this, and it might not be a bad plan to run it. The roll is probably worth the second point in this situation. It was such a good shot. Well, move the guard, but did not remove the rock from play.
Bigger opportunity now for Northern Ontario to protect, even with a second shot. If they kind of Christmas tree that half bury and half cover at the same time, then it might probably forces Saskatchewan to the in-turn draw.
Yeah, so a good position to now they've got a center guard out of all this and one rock in the house, and now they can put a second one in there and really put the pressure on Ethan's next shot.
Poking out half's really good. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, so
You let him know, we can split as well.
Grace and Naden kind of confirming with Riley where they want to put this rock, because I think this is important for the sweepers to know that there's a couple of good spots here. You want to be on the same page.
Somewhere in front, ideally, and somewhere in the rings, ideally. Not much they can do to take away the 4 foot again on the in-turn draw side, but they can make it look a lot worse for Saskatchewan if they can get it into a good position here.
I think if I'm Saskatchewan, I'd be eyeing that open hit, so I think you want to make sure that you take away some of that rock so that the choice is not there to play the hit and stick. Riley with a super slow slide here. Nice ad.
Top four! Top four! T! Top four! It's coming down. Top 8 now.
Sweepers seem to like it. They're close to it. Not
Yeah, starting to curl now.
not working it, but
They got 15-7. You might as well go to the pin with this one because it's not really doing job number one, which is guarding that other one.
now it's in a good spot, so the nose hit now really doesn't get you shot.
And it might have made that draw a little bit tougher too, Sean, on the intern side that we thought he'd always have.
Yeah. Now is the double there, though.
Is a double there, yeah. This is
just highlights the precision required to get something good there. A foot shorter, so he half covers that. Might have been better. Would again leave the intern draw, but a foot shorter than that, so 2 feet shorter, maybe you're no good at all, right?
and I think just recognizing that once that started to curl, there was no stopping it, so you almost had to depend on keeping it out a little bit longer, because once it starts, it's hard to straighten it out. All right, so Ethan Robson has hit and roll or a double to score here.
Yep. Whoa. Whoa. Curl.
Got to be close. We'll just see what kind of action he gets off of this rock.
Well, and there you go. The nose hit doesn't do it. Good draw by Northern Ontario to manufacture a steal almost out of nowhere. Not quite.
So after 3 ends of play, Northern Ontario's up 2-0 on Saskatchewan 2. We'll be back.
Welcome back, folks. We're at the New Holland U-20 Canadian Curling Championships. Men's action in draw 13 at the Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex in Sudbury, Ontario. I'm Sean Turriff. I'm with Lee Toner. And Lee, we've got a tight game so far.
Yeah, so 2-0. So a force and then a steal has Northern Ontario up 2-0. Had the blank attempt in the second that kind of resulted in a nose hit. So they were forced there, but they got their second point now in their 2-point lead. And they're looking to put up a tight guard, and maybe we'll see some rocks in play this end, Sean.
Yeah, well, that last end was entertaining, I thought, from the curling geek point of view that I have, because I was curious to see how that, with minimal rocks, I find it fascinating sometimes with minimal rocks how you can manufacture a little bit of offense. And it doesn't take a whole lot. It's so the precision required for the positioning sometimes is just, for me, that's fascinating.
Yeah, because really the only chance they had to generate a deuce or generate a steal, I should say, was when Riley had his roll. That was the only aggressive, and he made the perfect roll, and it shows up on the scoreboard often when you make those perfect rolls. Forced Ethan into a tough shot even to score one, and gave up the steal. So good on them. They're kind of taking the calculated, delayed risk approach.
Got 8 ends. You might as well use them all.
Although here we go. We've got a corner guard up for Saskatchewan and a center guard up for Northern Ontario. And Riley Winters, their skip, is asking the Northern Ontario lead, Aiden Baxter, to come around their center guard.
Team down. Team. Line. Great. Line's good. Judge wait. Line's good. Top four. Room. Top four. Top four. Group 8.
Sweepers like the weight. Very nice shot. Aiden Baxter covers the pin, buries a rock. If you're being picky, you probably ask for 1 rock higher, but that's a pretty good shot.
Yeah, I guess they don't have to move this much more than half a rock to become shot.
We both had 5-5.
So Saskatchewan's going to come with the other turn and try to freeze.
It's right here.
And there's probably a reason they took the other turn here. If they do get some action on this side, they might be able to bring that corner guard into play.
Big Saskatchewan sweep there. It gets around the guard. That was pretty good.
Yeah, great sweep.
Over curls a little bit, gives Northern Ontario the opportunity to come down to it. Maybe a little tap here.
Feel like somebody turned up the volume in this place all of a sudden, Sean. I guess they're into it now.
Do you remember what my guard was last time?
It's close to a hometown crowd, I think, as you get here for Northern Ontario. They're only an hour and a bit down the road, I think.
Yeah, North Bay is very close to Sudbury. They're no strangers to being around in these parts, that's for sure.
T! Straight all the way. Top 8.
This one is curling.
Yeah, I think it's just. I think he pulled the string on this one a little bit.
Yeah, line probably been okay with the weight.
I almost think with that one you might have wanted it to curl a little bit more because Saskatchewan's going to come in this way again. And if it curls a little bit more, you might cut that draw off a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of making the best out of what you got.
Yeah. It's hard to give up on a shot and make the second plan B when you're out there, but
Lined up nice.
Yeah, I mean we make them all from here, right? But for sure.
so Saskatchewan, as you predicted, Sean, coming in around this double guard situation now that we have with Northern Ontario guards. This is coming in at a 90-degree angle, I think.
Yeah, I think Saskatchewan's going to be pretty happy with this.
Oh, boys. Yeah, they're hard to say whose shot. Still looks red to me, maybe.
I think you're right. I think.
But that red is hanging on by a thread, I would say, given the way these angles are lined up now.
That's red.
And it does form a pocket, though, so Team Northern Ontario, to their credit, is going to try to get there and put a rock in a really good spot here that'll be hard to remove.
Like you're heavy. Let him know the weight. Let him know the weight.
This one's starting to dive. I don't want to let this one go too long.
Saying it's a little heavy, but I think line is key here.
Okay, really good.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice shot.
That was really good weight. Are they sitting two? Go for the guards.
Time to manage the middle, says Ethan Robinson. The skip for Saskatchewan 2. Kind of had a little look at something, but after one shot, it starting to look more like a steal situation, so he wants to try to score here.
Yeah, this is probably prudent. I don't think the angles just aren't looking really good in the forefoot there for Saskatchewan at the moment. Need to open up the options.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
All right, well, rearrange things certainly and remove things off the forefoot.
The nice thing for Saskatchewan is the roll of their back yellow one. They're in second shot position behind a couple of things. It's sure that one red one's raisable, and it might not really come into play because the forefoot's still obviously a key territory. But that second shot may come into play later.
Yeah, it means that Team Northern Ontario got to keep control the middle so that that second point doesn't come into play. As you point out, this back 8-foot rock is second shot. This is west to carry.
Top four. T. Just T. Top four. Line's red. Top four. Top four. Curl. Top four. Curl. Line's red. T. You gotta curl. Curl hard.
Coming in nice here.
Hard.
Good one for Wes.
That's really good.
Buried, but maybe push the other one out in the open a little bit. Formed a pocket there, so Saskatchewan may sense an opportunity.
Yeah, they're trying to decide whether or not they get to the inside of it because there may be a double there if they can get to the inside of it. Now, to make that double, they're going to have to throw a lot of weight, so they have to see a good part of the inside. They can't curl it and hope for a double there. But
yeah, or maybe this is time to figure out what's going on in the front. I had a coach tell me once, and it was good advice. Whenever you're thinking between two shots and one of the options is a peel, when you have the hammer, peel.
Yeah. You never regret peeling the guards when you got hammer. Nice one over curling, though.
So got rid of the yellow. Still a red center guard in play, and two in the forefoot.
Does open up the access, though, to those two in the forefoot. So Northern Ontario is really going to have to address that right pretty much now. And they are calling a center guard.
And adding to the coverage for the back 8-foot Yellowstone, the shooter that came across.
Line's good.
Yeah, prior to that shot, there had been a little tap on the red one there on top 8, but that's gone.
So they'll have to be precise with their guards here because these two rocks are kind of lined up where there are some doubles.
Yeah, the end's starting to age here, so they probably have one more peel attempt here, and then they're going to have to try and look at something in the forefoot there.
Maybe we'll see one of these corner guards run in, Sean.
Yeah, that's a definite possibility. This one over curling, I think, for the run in.
I'd love to catch the second one on the way by, but oof, took away my shot. So Riley's going to go up and put up another guard, but to your point, it is getting later on the end, and scoring is looking like it could be challenging for Saskatchewan.
I was going to say 9. Yeah, I think so. Maybe a little fresh or not? Maybe a hair? I don't think.
Wondering if it's a little fresher out here, a little wider.
Yeah.
See if he needs to throw a little bit extra. This is one where the weight will dictate how much curl you get.
Just 2. 2. 1. One. Turn over. Curl if you can.
They're thinking it's a little on the light side right now.
We're over. We're over. Not a curl. Curl. Not a curl. 2. Curl. Curl. Curl.
Kind of switched, trying to get it to curl and go straight and keep moving. I think it ended up in a pretty good spot there.
The boys run that all the way, and I got about a 20.1 hog to hog. It's a little bit crazy.
That's the thing with these ice conditions is when you're dealing with ice this fast as a sweeper, you're sweeping for a long time. That hog line can't come fast enough sometimes. Oh, we've got interaction going on for Team Saskatchewan here. They're going to discuss this situation. Coach is Craig Robinson. You see anything, Coach Sean, here for Saskatchewan in terms of options?
That center's pretty sewn up. I think if I'm running something, I'm tempted to run the one on the center line. The problem with running the one on the center line is it doesn't give me something on my next if it doesn't go perfectly well. But that being said, if I run the one on the other side, they just replace it, then that's no good either. The one on the center line is I think their best bet at getting the 2 off the forefoot. So if they hit this, there is a possibility that run this almost straight back. They could get the not the shooter, but they could get the promoted rock plus the 2 off the forefoot. They could make an effective triple here.
Yeah, that would be ideal. And yeah, a couple other options too. I think if you hit it a little bit on the high side, you might catch the wide one and roll your shooter away, and that might leave the same shot again for 2 runs for 1. That back 8-foot rock still kind of figuring in our conversation to some extent.
Certainly a little bit of weight on this one.
Gonna curl.
Oh,
a little bit
close.
unlucky there.
Yeah, he only needed to hit another centimeter on the left side of that rock. And
yeah, and they're all gone.
Yeah, they're all gone. Look at how close he gets to that one. Oh, he's not going to want to watch that again. That was just so close to being perfect. That would have been just perfect for them.
Keep showing up in the highlights too, that one.
Yeah. Northern Ontario now looking at the potential here. There's not much left for Saskatchewan. I mean, even the intern tap there, he's not able to get shot out of it.
So Northern Ontario taking their interaction, and again, you can take 1 interaction per team per half. So this is kind of the last possible moment for Northern Ontario to sit and chat with their coach, because they don't get to carry it off into the second ends. There's no carryovers of the interactions.
Yeah, regarding the run, he said.
So Coach Steve is going to chat with the boys here and see what they have. I tell you, if even if Northern Ontario doesn't throw here, it's a tough shot to score.
I was just going to say that very same thing. That center rock that that Saskatchewan just threw, it overcurled it just a touch. So I don't think the run is there again. I don't think running the yellow one is there again. You need to get a little bit on the inside of that to cross those rocks in the house. And I don't think they can get there.
You might be able to get one out.
Yeah. And you might be able to run it. Yeah, from the out turn side, if you hit it high side, you might be able to get one out. You might be able to maybe get into the crotch, but oh boy.
And then do jam on the back 8-foot rock that's been your friend all along.
And hope your shooter doesn't, or the promoted rock at least hangs around.
He may not have much else after this shot because it looks like Northern Ontario is going to plug the hole, and maybe they're trying to take away some of this run too if they can overlap.
Yeah, I mean the aggressive commentator in me is drawing that top 8 for third shot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I mean, I wouldn't take a chance. I wouldn't take a risk of bumping that center one or anything, but
yeah, the danger, the risk is you come a little deep and you give them an easy hit and rolls with a button, and then your end is gone.
Yeah.
So now are we looking at a combo shot? Red, yellow, red.
I guess that's the TV circus shot, isn't it?
Yeah, so Ethan's lining it up.
A bit of a Z pattern.
Nathan's got the broom down. He just threw this spot, so tough shot.
How do you even stick with just on this side? Straight back.
So I think just looking to hit this a little bit on the high side. He's throwing it hard. Try to keep it on that side of center. It's close.
Oh, you could not have done much better. Yeah, that was very good. I mean, the angles there were so tough. And to stick that promoted yellow rock, very good effort.
Yeah.
Oh, so close. So close.
Yeah. Another steal for Northern Ontario, has them up 3-zip, but Saskatchewan dodged a bullet there on that end. We'll be back after this.
Today we learned to put one foot in front of the other. That with a little hard work, great things will happen. We can go for gold, but what matters most is having fun. We learn from some of the best, improving our skills, building confidence, and making friends that feel like family. We are proud to be the future of curling.
Look at that shot. See how he reacts. There goes one moving here. both, too. Ah, great shot. The finishing shot. Oh, he's going to pick it right out of there. He's got it.
Is what you need to become the Canadian Stay with it, Will. What do you got? You got one, you got two, you got three. Game.
Time to go home, kiddo.
Just one more throw, please.
Thank you for making moments like these possible.
Welcome back. We're at the New Holland U-20 Canadian Curling Championships. Men's action here in Draw 13 on April 1st. It's not a joke. No, and for real over here. We've got Northern Ontario 1 against Saskatchewan 2. And right now, Northern Ontario 1 has a 3-0 lead. It's been a tight game so far. But that last end was pretty entertaining. Lots of rocks and play, Lee, and almost an amazing shot there by Saskatchewan's Ethan Robinson to pull that one out. But it was a tough shot, and he made a pistol there just to keep it close.
Yeah, now we're just looking at the highlights now, and that's why the game is still within reach here at 3-0 with 4 ends left for Saskatchewan. I think I just chatting with Steve DeCarey on my way in, and they were kind of contemplating whether to come in with that last rock of theirs, but they worried that if they ever opened up, clicked the guard, or came a little deep, that they might leave a shot for 2, and that's that back 8-foot rock that we had commented on. So here's where we are. It's sort of a controlled, aggressive kind of approach, measured and patient game so far for both teams. Let's see what the second half brings. And just looking around the rink, Ontario and Nova Scotia deadlocked at 2 right now on sheet A. On sheet B, we have Alberta up 4-1 on Yukon, and BC and Nova Scotia are over on sheet D right beside us, and it looks like New Brunswick is up on BC 3-2.
Yeah, we're stuck in the one ice pad, which is fine, obviously, but on the other ice pad, 4 other games, can't tell you who's playing because I just don't know. I would go to curling.ca/scoreboard for the rest of the scores.
And it is a beautiful facility here at the Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex in Sudbury. Twin ice pads side by side, so it's a short walk over to the other side to see the rest of the action if you're curious to see one of the other games. And we've been mentioning Jerry McCrory a lot this week. Jerry McCrory was a former hockey leader in Sudbury and Northern Ontario, and has his name on this facility as a tribute to all of his efforts for minor hockey in Sudbury and Northern Ontario. So we're off. Looks like Northern Ontario had the first rock and they slid in. You see if that was a call, Sean, or was that?
Yeah, I think they were trying to go in. They weren't trying to go back 4, but maybe top 4, and just got a little deep. The fourth end break, we talk about it all the time, but at the fourth end break they do mop the ice, so there's a little shine that wasn't there in the fourth end. So in the fifth end they have to be aware. Some of the teams have to be aware that it might be a touch quicker for just a little bit. I think Northern Ontario might have got caught just a touch on that one.
Yeah, and this one sliding into the corner guard attempt. Ooh, this might bring out a measuring device. So obviously it's a couple of feet quicker, I think, for both teams. Both got fooled a little bit, and it does take a reminder, and not only for the thrower, but for the sweepers who need to lay off of it. Looks like they've agreed that this is in, Sean, because they're playing a hit at it.
Yeah, there wasn't much discussion from our vantage point. It's much closer than they seem to have agreed on, but I don't think a big deal there. I think the harder part of that miss was the roll to the corner rather than the removal of the one at the back four. The one at the back four wasn't really helping Northern Ontario a whole heck of a lot, but the unfortunate part of that was the roll to the guard position.
Yeah, so it's still in play. It's guarding part of the 12-foot. Just takes a little bit to hide sometimes.
Saw on this sheet this morning a women's team's drawing in behind a guard almost in exactly that position, and ended up a score of at least one. I think there might have been two they hit around there, and it just goes to show that a guard anywhere can be treacherous.
Looks like we'll have another guard here, unfortunately, for Saskatchewan. Well, maybe that was what they were playing.
Yeah,
they weren't going to quite come around yet. Save it for later. They did have another free guard, zone guard option, so might as well use it.
Northern Ontario here just going to try and take that opportunity away, beat them to it, so to speak.
Yeah, and they want to place this somewhere they can access, not wide open, not behind the tee, so it is a precise throw that they require. It's going to curl.
Line only. Oh. No. Sit. Okay.
Even with this one, you'll see that it's exposed on the other side. Saskatchewan still playing the freeze here.
Yeah, I think 3 down. They're thinking, well, time to maybe mix it up a little bit. Let's make sure we get some rocks in play.
So Lewis McDermott will attempt to freeze on that rock that Northern Ontario just throws into there, just threw into there.
There! No bumping!
Wait close. We're up. I just kicked too much.
A little bit of a wider path than the previous rock, for sure.
Mine isn't terrible.
You're just top 8.
Lewis indicating he thought it was a little heavy. Running a little straighter.
Curl!
Sorry. I think you're priority. No, that's my bad. Okay.
All right, so he was that little bit heavy, but he is buried and he is shot, so Northern Ontario is going to have to deal with this at some point.
Like a thick half. That's good. Okay.
Grayson Gribben being asked how much of the red rock that he sees, because easiest way to get at this might be to promote that red rock onto that yellow rock that was just placed there.
I think the chase is there from the other side as well. That guard's so high and this one's so deep, but I see the advantage of promoting this red one onto the yellow one.
Lead! Girl! Whoa!
Really good.
All right, so the shot is made. It does leave that same freeze. Very nice shot by Grayson here, well managed. Like the weight that they used, and the brushers were in.
A little tighter. A little down. Tighter. Yep. Down.
A lot of these Northern Ontario players take part or have taken part in the Amethyst Curling Camp that also occurs at the North Bay Granite Club in the summer.
Used to be here in this facility.
I wanted to overthrow that. Like, touching guards the fine.
We've had a lot of Amethyst curlers make their way through the ranks of the Northern Ontario teams.
I mean, you could go this way or play the same thing.
Space!
Riley in particular has probably thrown more rocks at an Amethyst Curling Camp than anyone else because we can't seem to get him off the ice most years.
Space!
And Wes is not far behind, so.
Yep.
Just up! Air up! Weight's good!
Girl. Hurry. Straight.
This one, they might have caught on this one a little bit. Oh, no, they got it around that guard. Thought they were going to clip it.
You gotta go.
Precise shot making by Northern Ontario here, keeping the pressure on Saskatchewan. Gonna make it tough to score a multiple.
You get up.
Yeah, I thought they were catching this card. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh.
Oh, I thought they had that card.
They kissed on the way by, pretty much.
Maybe. Really came off it.
Good brush.
10, gotta go.
Saskatchewan looking to clean up here a little bit. Just they need to score, but at the same time, they really need to not let too much get out of hand. This one's got a nice path. Curls just a bit more. They'd be in good shape.
All right, another yellow in the house. One less red.
Yeah.
Northern Ontario sitting 2, but that one back 4 foot now is probably more to Saskatchewan's advantage than to Northern Ontario's advantage.
Yeah, because it certainly can be
10.
jammed or frozen too.
That's good.
So West to carry with his second rock. Trying to make this hit. It's curling. The boys are on it.
Really good, Wes.
A nice roll. The only thing is it.
11.
Yeah, I kind of wanted them to take it a little further even. Yeah.
Yeah, it does allow them, if they chose to, it does allow them to come around that one now, and they would Saskatchewan would have backing and some cover, because those 2 red rocks, they're not quite overlapped, so I guess you'd have to be careful where you put it.
So this is Saskatchewan third, Nathan Weiss. His last rock. I think they're chosen just to try to make this a little bit less complicated right now and remove some of those reds.
I think down 3 in the 5th, you really needed to keep your shooter there.
You did need to keep your shooter, and that goes with the weight and maybe the call. I know it's not pleasant to look at 3 rocks in the 4 foot when you're throwing, but at least one of those was your friend.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes that, you got that, and it's like just off. So I think a tight guard.
Little touch is okay as long as there's no hole.
So now Northern Ontario kind of shifts into steel mode here. They've got rocks in the middle, top 4, back 4. An opportunity to guard.
Yeah, that little draw around that I was seeing earlier to the one in the back 4 is not quite as juicy now for Saskatchewan because of where the red rock rolled to the top. So you can see there it's almost top button. Previously it was kind of top 4. That would have been a little easier to get around and be shot. Now it's awfully tough to get around it and be shot.
And it's a precise shot, just be shot, so it's
not nearly as juicy as it was a minute ago.
All right, Riley focused in the hack here, trying to put this rock in a position that will guard the current situation.
2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2. Mine's good.
Those first 2 ends of up and down for us have put us quite a bit ahead of all the other games. All the other games are just getting into their 4th end breaks. And we're most of the way through the 5th.
Girl, 2, girl, girl. Hard, Grayson. Oh, whoa. Mine's fine. Girl. Oh, mine's fine. Okay, it's good.
Well, I don't know if there's a whole lot else for Saskatchewan now. I think they have to play this.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I love that guard.
No, I was just thinking that. I was thinking I get the concept, but I'm not sure that it took away the shot that you're trying to take away.
No, I'm not sure it took away. Well, it certainly didn't discourage them from playing the draw.
I almost like top 4 right beside the other one.
Yeah, go ahead and hit it. I mean, we're up 3.
Yeah.
If we can force you, that's great. That's kind of where I'd
now
be thinking.
We've got a stagger and a rock back 4 foot. If you're trying to steal the extra end, you'd be pretty happy with this. Mind you, they don't have last rock, but it's still a chance to score and maybe score a multiple if you put 2 back to back on that frozen onto the back one. Ethan Robinson with his first rock.
Hair down. Hair down. Yep. That feels there.
5th end, down 3-0. Looking to score here.
This is looking pretty good. It will come across as long as it's got the weight to get to the tee line. Don't leave it, boys. Don't give up.
Hey, this is looking pretty good. Yeah.
Good shot.
Very nice. Yeah. Tapped it back a little bit, so now maybe there's some space. But, yeah, Riley's not going to mess around with this. He's going to try to make the freeze himself now. draw his way out of here and
Freeze? Yeah, just do it. They shot? Yeah. Okay. 6, 5, 7.
and if he makes this perfect, he'll probably steal.
Yeah.
That was always a danger with that rock.
Yeah, if Ethan ever could have put that top button, that would have been better. Of course, that requires a lot more precision, but
yeah. I think it's a shot before that he would like back just to reassess where he was moving those rocks to with his third last rock.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, this is a bit more weight from Riley.
Go then. Curl, knife.
Really heavy. Back.
Needs to get across. It really does need to curl.
And it's still falling out from the set. And they're asking Grayson to knife it because they think it's heavy. Knife it to curl a little bit more. This is unfortunately not going to stop in time.
So that gives Ethan the opportunity to throw pretty much exactly the same shot. Maybe a touch less weight, because he can't really move that shot rock much. Because he could, I think, promote it to third shot if he's just a little heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's got to be very precise with this, but it is a good chance to get back into this ball game with a 2.
Yeah, and he just threw it, so he should have a good sense of line and weight.
You'd like to see this just brushed to the button. Not thinking about any backing. This is just a draw to the button.
I got a little up.
Little up isn't
Not what anybody wants to hear on the Saskatchewan side. Sweepers are backing off, and it's a ways out there.
Quite a bit wider path than his first one, too.
Not coming down.
Yeah, 14-7 I got. They got 14-5.
Yeah, wasted opportunity, unfortunately, for Saskatchewan. It was a tough shot, but they do get on the board.
Yep, and Northern Ontario's not unhappy with a force going up 3-1 after 5 with hammer and 6. So we'll be back to see that 6th end in a moment.
Welcome back to Sudbury and the Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex. We are at the New Holland U-20 Canadian Curling Championships. Draw 13 men's action with Northern Ontario 1, Saskatchewan 2. Tight game so far, 3-1. Northern Ontario up with the hammer now in the 6th end. Lee, we finally started to get some rocks in play.
Yeah, and you know, I think Saskatchewan got the 1. They had the chance for the 2. I think earlier on the end, it looked like it was going to be tough to score 2, and they managed to manufacture a bit of an opportunity there. They'll be a little disappointed that they weren't able to cash it in. But still a close game within reach. 6th end, down 2.
1 or 3, boys. Mine's good. It's all you. 1 or 3.
So I think Ethan has decided that he's going to go with a double center guard approach. So he's asking his sweepers to put it either close to the circles or close to the hog line so that they have room for a second guard. Just over curl the touch to get off the center line. Team Northern Ontario is going to come around. Aiden Baxter with his first. Feel like Aiden's thrown the shot a couple times this game. Exact same guard scenario, exact same throw.
Leads are specialists these days.
See if he can get this to the good spot. I hate to hear that as a thrower. White coming off a little bit. Well, this is pretty good.
It certainly wasn't back 8. Needed to curl a little bit more, but it's good enough. And Ethan's not going to address that at this point. He really needs to get his guards in place to get something set up.
And if he wants to bite the center line, he's kind of going to be guarding that rock, so it may be a good come around after this next rock. So they're saying just a 1, which would indicate that it's just over the hog line. Got it curling a little bit now. Still got a ways to go. Can they get it there?
I think
pretty close.
Yeah, I think it's got a piece of the center line.
Yeah, I don't think it changes a whole lot of what Team Northern Ontario's got to do. They'll want to get 2 rocks in behind and then see what kind of opportunities develop. So Aiden going to be throwing the exact same shot.
So the double center is really a sign that we want to steal. We want to really steal. Do you think they really need to go hard this end, Lee?
So I think, well, if they force, then they're down 3 playing 7, which isn't a great situation.
Yeah.
I think they'll influence their chances the most by stealing here. If they steal 1, down 1 playing 7, and then force, then they could be in for an extra end, sort of take 2 in the 8 kind of situation. I think that's their path forward right now. So
yeah,
I think they'll go pretty aggressive if they've thought that through. Especially given the way this game has been going so far, there haven't been a ton of scoring opportunities.
As coaches, we talk about scoreboard management a lot, and that's a good way to think through it. I think for them and for me. So Saskatchewan choosing to play the out turn there to get down into that scoring area. The other option might have been to follow that red one down, maybe with a quiet chase, just to disrupt those rocks a little bit. It's early in the end.
Yeah.
Still just need to set up the situation a little bit.
Yeah, I think if you just play back 8-foot weight and stay to the front of that rock that's currently in the 8-foot and move that other rock sort of behind the tee, you might have a chance to play into something later.
Yeah, now Northern Ontario has the opportunity to kind of sew this side up, and because of the way that last Saskatchewan rock rolled, it's not really a draw anymore on that other side. Yeah, maybe there is, but it's for second shot at best.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where Northern Ontario decided not to peel the double center guards, which is an indication they think they're sitting pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Close. It's real close. Real close. Real close. Don't touch it then. Don't touch it then. That's a 7. Coming down. Whoa! Whoa, John!
So they're trying to get into this pocket, kind of get a rock in front of these reds, maybe wiggle them around a little bit, move your shooter to a good spot. Almost good.
Yeah, almost really good. I was coming in there and I thought, oh, that's about as good as you can as good as you can make, and it overcurled right at the last second, rubbed off that middle one, and just squirted out just a titch.
All right, so if you're Northern Ontario, you probably just want to try to make this yellow one go away, and if you happen to pick your red one off, that's okay too.
Oh, this one's going early. We're managing it okay. It's going to be close to the guard, though.
Yeah, I think it's on the guard now.
That's fine. Good. That's not bad.
All right, well, I think Saskatchewan kind of has a little bit of an opportunity here to maybe get a rock in a spot that's going to be difficult to remove it. And maybe get to a spot where they can pound it and get rid of a bunch of reds, more importantly. Kind of would have liked to see Northern Ontario throw a bit more weight at that. As lively as these rocks are, you could throw peel, hit half rock, and they'd all be gone.
Touchdown! Yeah, we're down. We're still down. Top 12.
Really trying to drag this one. They're calling top 12. It really needs to be there.
Yeah, short isn't going to help.
Sweepers feel like they've been sweeping for 30 seconds on this one. Yeah, unfortunately over curl too, so it's not going to be really accessible. Team Northern Ontario getting a second crack at this. Wesley was maybe a little soft on his first one. Now they're asking for it to curl. Starting to move. He's got the nice weight. Yeah, so even the Saskatchewan skip was surprised how much that bounced off. He was kind of thinking it would stop in the back four, and he had to jump back to avoid clipping Riley over that rock. There are some yellow rocks accumulating in the house, though, I have to say.
Yeah, they're one big shot away from putting Northern Ontario in trouble here.
Yeah, we're 3 right now.
Yeah, I don't like it when ends set up too well early because there's so much time, and you end up putting up a guard that you have to peel later.
Yeah. Often I find guards are played too early. Because they put you in jail.
Yeah. I think, you might go back and say, maybe we should have just ripped those guards when we had the chance, and I know it was looking good for us, but you don't need to score if you're Northern Ontario. You're really just trying to minimize the opportunities for Saskatchewan to score multiple.
This isn't the ideal house for Northern Ontario. It's set up with so many rocks in play.
All right, so
now to your point there, Lee, those two red rocks are looking kind of lonely in there. There's only a couple more Saskatchewan rocks to come, but oof. I don't know how they both go away. It'd be a lot of work to get both of them out of there, but
they've got some angles on both sides that they could use short runs, and like I said, as lively as this house is, they're not frozen in there. So it'd be nice to keep the shooter around for Northern Ontario for exactly that reason. There's some rocks on the 12-foot that you don't really want to come in.
Yeah, he hasn't overthrown this, so that's okay, but it's going to overcurl. Kind of bounce out of the way there.
Yeah, so you heard the Northern Ontario comment. And we just have to guard for our lives now, and that is the feeling that they get to with yellows. Can Saskatchewan get at this? I think. I think there's a couple of ways at it. They're looking at, I think, putting another rock in there, Sean. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, maybe tapping that yellow one. I think they might be slightly, maybe they're not overlapped. I think maybe
tapping the middle of yellow, yeah. Tapping the middle of yellow to get the shot. Tough not to leave a double in that instance, but maybe they've given up on scoring in the 8-foot and the 12-foot, and they're trying to score on the 4-foot now. That may be the thinking.
I have to be careful here. I mean, it's hard to tap this without leaving the double.
Well, we're all there.
Yeah, because you can't really, you have to hit most of that rock to get it past the red one that's right beside it. So they're behaving like this is heavy, but this is starting to curl, so stay close, boys.
Yeah, I think it's really cranking now. They may be just looking to guard. It's my impression red was shot, but I may have had that all wrong.
Yeah, oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
That's
Maybe that was Saskatchewan was saying guarding for their lives and not Northern Ontario, but I think they were both kind of in a situation where they could be guarding for their lives.
Yeah, it was kind of my impression Red was shot, but in that last overhead, I'm not so sure anymore.
Yeah, if they were playing a guard, they obviously thought they were shot, so.
Oh, just unfortunate. Just overcurled by half a rock. Even if they overlap that red pair, then they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you'd love to just give him the outside part of this rock and tempt him into maybe removing one of those reds if he hits it thin. This is a relatively straightforward shot for Riley to remove that rock. Doesn't really have to stick around at this point.
In fact, I don't think he wants to stick around. If he hits and flops sort of into the open, he gives a hit and roll back in, which might really put it away for Saskatchewan, might really cement the steal.
So Riley throwing the out turn. Had a couple over curl in this spot recently.
Board down. Board. Weight's good. Weight's good.
Girl.
Board up.
Hard, girl. Hard. Right up.
One is being encouraged to curl.
Hard, Grayson. Hard.
Oof.
That was a danger, right, with that rock sort of kind of side frozen.
Yeah. And the way that squirreled in under the yellow-red combination there, they are well and truly buried. Now the issue is,
look at that rock curl at the very end. I'm just looking at the replay. It was bisecting the center line, and suddenly it curled across.
And the issue is, and we're going to have an interaction here. We'll see if we can figure out what the coach is going to indicate.
Are we shot?
Think they're gonna guard, Sean?
Yeah, I think Saskatchewan's in a tough place here. They're well and truly shot, but I really think Northern Ontario has.
You can see two ways of getting at it.
Yeah,
on the side of the sheet that they're not guarding.
Right. There's a relatively easy. I don't want to say it's easy. A relatively short, at least, tap back on the yellow-red combo.
Yeah.
You don't almost hit anywhere on that yellow rock, and you're going to promote it back onto that shot on the button.
Oh, if you could just carry the rock down and put it right in front of there and fully buried.
Yeah.
That would be the spot.
Don't want to.
So this has a little bit better line now. It's out there a little wider. It'll be up to the sweepers to communicate where this rock is going to end up so that they can.
Does not look heavy. It looks like a pure guard to me.
Yeah, it's a long guard, so
it takes away the draw and really forces Northern Ontario to rub and run.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to get at this.
Yeah, I think that's on this side. Just.
I think Riley's looking at hitting yellow, yellow, red, yellow on the angle.
I know this sounds crazy, but I think he's kind of got to be a little bit careful. If he hits that yellow one, I don't know how much weight he's throwing. It's hard to tell, but if he ever hits that yellow one with he's got his broom on, if he hits it thin, and he hits this thin, the red rock may drag past the shooter. Or not the shooter, but he may drag past the.
Yeah, it may. Yeah, absolutely.
If he catches this really thin, there's a little bit of separation there, so I'm not sure the drag will come into effect. But don't think.
I think he's looking to over curl this rock
and just do the straight.
Yeah,
like the straight tap.
Well, and this won't be hack weight. This has come along.
So I thought he would throw the quieter weight and just try and play the straight tap.
Got to curl a little bit more.
Come on.
Very nice. Very nice. Great shot. I think it's for three.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't without risk, as you noted, Sean. But yeah, they had it lined up pretty good there, and they knew where they needed to hit it.
Good job by Northern Ontario.
So 6-1 lead going into 7 for Northern Ontario.
Welcome back to Sudbury and the Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex. We're at the New Holland U-20 Canadian Curling Championships Draw 13 action. We have Northern Ontario 1, Saskatchewan 2. My name's Sean Turriff. I'm with Lee Toner. And Lee busted wide open right there.
Yeah, so a close game, and suddenly it's a bit of a reach now for Saskatchewan, down 5, playing 2 ends. But yeah, credit to Northern Ontario. They took advantage of an opportunity and made a tough angle shot for 3. And they find themselves up 5, playing the 7th end of an 8th end game. Pretty comfortable spot to be in.
Yeah, and in all fairness, you and I talked about whether or not they should really be going for the steal or not. And I agreed. I think, that was the time. With that comes the risk, though, right? You play the steal, it's a risky way of playing. But it's I made the analogy earlier. It's a little bit like pulling the goalie. You need points on the board. You don't have much time left, and so you have to take that risk.
Yeah, and there's no extra points for keeping the close score or anything like that in curling. Horseshoes and hand grenades, yes, but keeping it close is not going to get you anywhere in curling. Extra end loss or 6-1 after 7 at the end of the day. It appears it's the same on the win-loss column. A couple of good games going on elsewhere as we glance over the other sheets. Ontario is now up 4-2 on Nova Scotia, and that's a big matchup. I know these two teams have played against each other in U18s before, and I think they would consider each other their rivals. Seeing some nice shot making over there. Corner guard run into a top 4-foot rock by Nate Kim. Beauty shot. On sheet B, we have Alberta up 4-2 on Yukon. And on sheet D, we're all tied up 4-4, New Brunswick versus BC. So back to our sheet here, we've got Saskatchewan looking to generate some opportunities for offense again. They seem to get some rocks in play last end. I don't know that Northern Ontario will allow that to happen this time, but corner guard is up. Northern Ontario has 2 in the 4-foot. And Saskatchewan looking to put up a second corner guard.
Yeah, unfortunately, that first corner guard is right in the middle. A little bit high, but mostly in the middle.
Yeah, and tough to not slide in sometimes when you're trying to be so precise there.
Yeah, line very good on that, and if you take both those rocks and move them, 2 feet closer to the hog line, then that's a perfect setup. Again, line-wise, ideal. Just 2 feet heavy on maybe both of them.
All right, so Northern Ontario going to see if they can take advantage of that rock being in the house now, because it's no longer in the free guard zone, and they're going to try ticking one or the other. Pretty low risk short shot in this situation.
Yeah, and they indicated they were only throwing hack weight, so even if they do make contact with the one they don't want, it shouldn't have any negative impact. Case in point, they probably wanted the back one to catch the front one, but
yeah, very nice shot. Moves that over. Double guard scenario is no longer there. The boys contemplating the fact that even some of the Northern Ontario fans are watching another game because they didn't get any claps there. Come on, Northern Ontario, let's clap up there.
So good.
trying to get their attention.
Yeah.
I recognize that. That's a great shot.
Coaches Lounge last night, there were some of the coaches having a little chuckle over the fact that sometimes there were cheers for things that were a bit of a mystery for them. Saw a missed center guard that was cheered the other day.
Yeah.
The cheer wasn't about the miss. The cheer was from the team that threw it. And I just didn't quite understand that that wasn't a good shot. But the enthusiasm is appreciated anyway. It's been a boisterous crowd here, and it's not it's a big venue, but the sound carries, so it's great for the kids to hear it anyway.
Yeah, it makes contributes to the atmosphere that and keeps them wanting to come back.
That corner guard got put up quite well and lined right up, good depth.
So Grayson going to try to get rid of some yellows here. He's throwing it hard. Trying to curl that peel shot. Yeah, he ends up removing one and moving the other one over a little bit more. So mission accomplished on that shot for Grayson.
Freeze a little tap.
Double tick.
Just freeze.
Not much more and it was gone.
Yeah, you ticked it.
Tiny tap. Thought we had that. That's good enough though. That's probably never going to come into play. Hit the finger.
So Lewis McDermott will deliver the next stone for Saskatchewan, and it looks like they're going to play into the house. There's a few red rocks that are kind of congregated over on that side and try to generate some offense differently. Freezing on the top 4-foot rock here.
Pretty good freeze. It's going to be pretty difficult to remove that. With the liveliness, I guess they could, but
yeah, ideally Riley's indicated that if he can make this double, it's probably the easiest way to get that rock out of there is to come in from that direction. So Wes will try to remove one or two of these yellows.
This one needs to curl. He's pretty close.
Yeah, I won't be too disappointed to disrupt that freeze situation now. I think that simplifies their game plan quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of great options here. So they're talking about coming around the corner, but that corner is now guarding a biter on the other side. You could come around and not be in the house. Situation at the front of the house, now the freeze has been disrupted too, so they may have decided to guard here.
You can straight pick it or lose one of the reds.
Just freeze to it. Top 12. We're not that heavy. Here? Yeah, we're to it. Go then. Go then. Go tap. Whoa. We're to it. Just about. Gotta tap it. Gotta curl. Curl. We're to it.
Want to play it double because if you ever
So we've got a yellow rock. Gonna try to push that, promote it into a freeze position. Still a little vulnerable, I would say.
Yeah, I think if you're Northern Ontario, you're just looking to throw some heat at this and blow it all up. They don't really need to score. Those two red rocks in play were just kind of insurance.
Yeah, they get rid of all these rocks and not be too sad. So West to carry, going to throw the attempt at getting rid of some yellows and maybe some reds. Pretty good. Fortunately, it's kind of buried behind that corner guard that I said wouldn't come into play.
Yeah. There's no absolutes in curling, Lee. There's no nevers and there's no always. It's all probabilities.
Yeah. All right, so Saskatchewan going to try to put another rock in there that could be hard to remove and hope to have a chance to make that yellow rock on the side count.
We're real close.
Haven't played down here for a while, so boys will have to be careful about the ice.
Yeah, they're on it.
Come on, Lewis, let's go, buddy. Come on, Lewis. Come on, Lewis, right to it.
Certainly no lack of effort from these guys. They're giving it their all the way through. And look at that.
Good
what a great
sweeping.
sweep. Yeah.
Wow.
Really good sweep.
Yeah, those two front end members there between Lewis and and Joshua, they've been kept busy. Nice that it's a one-game day today for them. All right, so it looks like Riley's going to make a play on this back 12-foot rock.
You got a good amount, I think. You got a good chunk. You don't even need to stick it, but sticking it's good. I like it.
Leave the other yellow rock in position so that they will be grouped if Saskatchewan makes a play on that. We'll have a chance at a double probably. Oh, just throwing down weight at this. Get the brushers in. This is curling. Really nice weight. Yeah, great shot.
Yeah, Saskatchewan in tough now. Going to be hard to, maybe hard to generate the deuce.
Probably needs at least a deuce to give the eighth end a whirl.
Yeah, even freezing in there, I imagine Northern Ontario is running that red at the top 8. And you would, I guess, if you're in Saskatchewan, you're hoping you get a little fortunate and something yellow hangs around after the run.
Yeah, or you remove an extra red instead of a yellow somewhere. And
yeah.
You like freezing this one? There's always this one to freeze.
So Ethan Robinson in the hack having a discussion with his sweepers about where exactly he wants this rock. You think he's coming around the whole pile here, Furby style, or not Furby style, Dacey style, versus Furby.
Versus Furby.
Furby won't like me mentioning that.
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing. I think he's trying to find a little protection for this shot somewhere.
Play the line.
Yeah, and hoping he has a double or something with his last one to make a couple more count.
This one's looking a little warm, looking a little hefty.
Yeah, it's got to stop soon. Got to be at least 4th shot. Oh, geez.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, slowed down pretty good.
Ever just put up a guard?
I think we just use.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes. I think it goes over the top. Yeah.
I think I like running that red in there.
Yeah.
I think as accurate as these guys are with their hits, I think that's the lowest risk shot. I think taking it on, having the risk of it hanging out there, it's yeah, but they've given themselves a chance, Saskatchewan, to score a couple.
I think that's easier.
3's even in play.
I don't think so. I don't think we have to hit. It's just where do we put the rock?
You could draw somewhere.
I think even as long as you're covering here is fine. Yeah, as long as we're in front of this yellow. So
Yeah, they haven't really talked about running the red into the yellow.
I don't think Northern Ontario would be too bothered giving up a deuce here. They just don't want to give up. They don't want to give up a 3 for sure.
So they're talking about guarding. So if they guard, then I guess Saskatchewan has this lightweight kind of nose hit for 3.
Part of me wants to draw to second shot. The only problem is I'm not sure where you do that.
Yeah, you draw the second shot in the 4th, but you're going to leave a double.
Could freeze on the shot they just threw, possibly.
I think they talked about that, so I don't know what they've decided on here. Let's see.
The ice looks like it's the intern quiet weight something. They did talk about the guard, so it's possible they're playing a guard.
I feel like it's close to edge 4. I think so, yeah. Just the hair left. Edge 4.
So if they're guarding, they're guarding the yellow rock.
I like that ice.
Well, there is also the, maybe not. I was going to say there's the nose on the top
red nose for,
but yeah, for 2. Yeah, because I don't think your shooter is
So
in tight enough to
yeah.
beat that one at the back.
So guarding the shot, that's for 3 potentially. Not that it's an easy shot, but
I like 7-5. Yeah. Yeah.
Top 12.
all right. So calling top 12. I think this is all about the line.
Top 12.
Go to curl.
Not curled a ton yet.
Curl.
I think it will, but
Just top 12.
Hard. Curl.
Weight's really nice.
Line's fine. Hard. Yes. Curl. Curl. Oh, you're fine.
Whoa.
You're fine.
There
Really
it
good.
goes, right in front of that yellow one. Did they really?
so I guess it's a little more difficult in that you're kind of looking to nose a red into that yellow.
Yep.
You still have this double that we talked about before he threw.
Yeah, that's dicey. Yeah, that's tough. I
I think the
prefer
nose double is for 2. Is he looking for something for 3? Is that
maybe. I don't see anything for 3.
you have to be off this wide corner guard that I've kind of dismissed as not being useful.
I'm tempted to throw at the one that they just threw. It's almost straighter back.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that flies off the side of that, and and your shooter.
If they throw at the one that's closer to the center line, they have to come right across the face of it, and they hit it thinner.
Yeah, it's real thin.
If you need to throw more weight, a little bit harder to navigate.
Yeah, they are. The boys are looking at the shot for 3, which is going to be involving a corner guard,
This long
in off
wide
or
corner guard.
super thin run.
Not sure I'm opposed, to be honest. 2-6-3, you're down 3 without coming home. Down 2 without coming home isn't great either, but that one extra point might be a little bit less daunting. And like I said earlier, they're at the point where they pulled their goalie. Like, they really have to.
All right, so they've decided that they're going to try to play their shot for 3.
And so they're running the guard in. Lee, they're not redirecting.
I think they're running it in, which means they can't hit very much of it, and it's not going to carry much weight.
Oh, I bet it'll fly. I'm going to get a clock on it, but I bet.
Oh yeah, I know they're going to throw it hard. I just don't know how much weight will sort of be transferred to the rock that's coming into the house.
Yeah. Well,
got to hit like 1/8 maybe.
Yeah, this has potential to be highlight of the week kind of shot here.
All right, well, let's get our best call on this one, Sean. Saskatchewan looking to get back into the game here with angle
9-5.
Run for 3.
9-5. I thought they would throw more.
Got a curl.
He's got a piece.
Oh, hard to believe he hit that too thin, but that was the situation.
I did think he was going to throw more weight at that. I thought they were going to throw a bit of a bullet at it and try and.
That
really
was my issue, was if he threw that weight, would he have enough to knock the rock out? And that's going to be handshakes on sheet C here, Saskatchewan versus Northern Ontario. Final score looks like 7-1 for Northern Ontario. Game was closer than what the score indicated. Saskatchewan just got behind on a couple of ends and had to take some chances, and it didn't pan out. Solid game from Northern Ontario, though, and they improved to 3-4. Saskatchewan drops to 1-5.
It's a beautiful blend of strategy, skill, and creativity. Curling. But it's our people that make us great. We're a mosaic of countless experiences. We communicate and collaborate. We value new ideas and different perspectives. We learn from our past and from our future. We may even disagree sometimes, but it's in our differences that we can see our strengths. The beauty of our sport is reflected in our people and our values. Regardless of your ethnicity or gender, your abilities, your stage in life, your beliefs, or who you love. The rocks and the ice don't discriminate. And as curlers, we won't either. We will be the change that we want to see in the world. Curling is a place for everyone.